Look at us in the blue today. I just noticed that.
I had to change shirts. Usually I'm in long sleeve, but I spilt egg on my shirt driving home.
You do eat a lot. I do notice you're using television. I will stand by that for, because I've heard you say like it exhausts you. It makes you so hungry. When I was on Get Up, so Get Up ends at 10 a.m., I would eat a pastrami sandwich. Think about like a New York one, like a big, I was also pregnant, but like a big, fat, thick pastrami sandwich because I'd be starving from talking about, the Jets.
I don't know why you think I eat a lot. I had 2 over easy eggs and 2 sausage patties. That's it.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on Scoop City. Make sure you check us out over on YouTube. Of course, if you are listening, make sure you subscribe. You can always watch us as well. A different experience, as we've been told over and over. Thanks so much for those jumping in, commenting, giving some of their opinions, their feedbacks, asking
a lot of opinions.
A lot of bizarre questions in there. I saw you
some weird
responding.
Ones. I respond to everyone.
You do.
No matter what.
You do.
Sometimes I give them the business. Sometimes I'm nice.
I enjoy your personality as a commenter because it's a little different than Chase on the show.
Yeah.
You have a little bit more zing to you.
Yeah, like the mom's basement Twitter guy.
Yes. But thank you guys so much for doing that. I'm getting ready to head down to Florida for the league meetings next week where, look, there's always tons that's going to be happening, lots of discussions. The competition committee is going to be meeting on a lot of different rule proposals. And Chase, I'm hearing that the tush push is building some momentum. I know we've talked about it here on the show where I said I didn't think that this would probably be the year where I could see change. I feel like it's getting more momentum in terms of those opposed to it than I've ever heard before. Usually it's like everyone's like, nah. There's like those 1 or 2 people that sit on it that are against it. But it's catching fire.
But there was only one team that brought it up. It was the Packers. Now all of a sudden everyone wants to ban it because they can't stop
you're
it.
The one to scream it doesn't mean you don't. There's some that are probably are sitting there like, I don't want to be the one to raise my hand. So I can't wait to get some answers for you next week. Talk about it on the show on top of all the other stories that are going to be flying around, where Aaron Rodgers is going to land. Will he even have a home by the time the show comes out? Will I be at the owners' meetings chasing down the Steelers, maybe the Vikings still, depending on what we do. So we're going to touch on all that coming up in just a few here on the show. Plus, Stefon Diggs finally makes his decision here, winds up in New England. Do you think that's a really good deal? We're going to talk about that. And finally, I want to wrap up the show with you. We've been sharing a lot of things that have been going on in our lives. We tend to like to talk about things that annoy us. It's become a form of therapy. But I feel like a better way to handle that is ask the other, what would you do in this situation? Because I've been faced with a lot of weird scenarios lately, and I don't know what to do. I have no idea. So we'll wrap up the show with some help me out questions I have for you guys.
I feel like you get annoyed more than I do.
That is true.
That
is because I'm on the phone too much. That's what it is. My brain is melting by the second. Speaking of my phone, let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league.
So, Russell Wilson to the New York Football Giants. Was interesting to see the contract. What do you know about that?
Right, so it's a 1-year deal worth about $21 million with $10.5 million in guaranteed money. We know that they just signed Jameis Winston last week to that 2-year, $8 million deal. I think it was up to like $16 million in incentives for him, right? So you have these 2 veteran quarterbacks, and I feel like that this is a layered conversation of things that we probably have to touch on, right? Because
yes,
first of all,
very layered.
What a quarterback room! Let's just say the obvious here. Obviously, with Jameis Winston with his personality, Russell Wilson with his, DeVito with his, like you have a lot going on in this Giants quarterback.
How mad do you think Russ is going to get when Jameis does the pregame speech in the huddle? What do you think Russ is going to do?
I'm doing that, dude. No.
Russ is for sure doing that. There's no Cleveland Browns like that. There's no shot.
Well, exactly. In Cleveland, no one was doing it. I mean, he had to do it. I almost think he was doing that. Okay, but I think he was doing that because he sensed a need.
Yeah,
So
I get
maybe
that.
he'll read the room.
I love Jameis too.
You know,
Jameis is great.
Yes, but he reminds me of people in my family where it's like,
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Your family listens.
They're a lot, right? But you have to find
it.
the good, lean into the good, and just let the rest of it just fall to the wayside, because otherwise it's going to drive you crazy. So, look, the New York Giants did not bring him in for rah-rah. They brought him in as a backup plan to what they now did, which was go get Russell Wilson. I don't think this was ever going to be a conversation of, we want you to compete with Jameis. Now, I do think if Joe Flacco was brought in with Russell Wilson, I think that would have been a case of, you guys got to compete for the job. That would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
But the question everyone wants to know. So first I want to get your opinion, and then I'll tell you what I know. What does this mean for the Giants in the draft?
I don't know. I think it gives them flexibility. And I think that's ultimately what they want. I feel like the Giants and Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, they're just collecting quarterbacks. If there's a quarterback at 3 there that they like, we might take it. If not, I still do think the Giants need to take a quarterback high in this draft. 3's a little rich for me, if I'm being completely honest with you. But it does give them the flexibility, because the combined salary number of Russell Wilson's $10.5 million guaranteed and Jameis's $4 million next year is $14.5 million. That's the same amount of money as Daniel Jones got from the Colts. So you get 2 better quarterbacks, in my opinion, than Daniel Jones, and you have them, if something doesn't work out with Russell and something doesn't work out on the draft, then Jameis. Okay, well, if Jameis gets hurt and then you go back to Russell. So I do think there's some flexibility, but there's still a little bit of like, what are you doing? Because it's just weird, because the Russell signing, to me, it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll not get fired if they don't make the playoffs. Oh, we have Russell. Well, he's a Band-Aid. And he's 36 years old. Can he still play some good football? Sure. Does it bring hope to the Giants fan base? Probably not. He played well. Does Jameis do that? No. Does a draft pick do that? Yeah. Well, do the Giants think a draft pick's worthy of that? I don't know. They're in a really weird spot right now.
I just love the idea that these 2 quarterbacks are so different in terms of how they play the position, right? You have Jameis, who's just going to chuck it and throw the ball around and probably throw a lot of interceptions, right? Because the only time we ever saw him have a little control in that area was when he was with Sean Payton, right?
Saints.
Sean, I think, did the best job with controlling him a little bit more, because God knows he didn't want to deal with Peyton coming off the field if he threw some of those interceptions. You've seen that face before,
yes,
up close and personal. And then you have Russ, who I would argue holds the ball too long, isn't great in the middle of the field, right? Has been accused of taking too many sacks, not even accused, factually, he's taken too many sacks, right? So it's like you have these 2, I wish I could combine these guys and maybe we would get this great New York Giant quarterback, It's like, no, then we got Daniel Jones. Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah,
so, look, I think there's a few ways we can try to understand what the Giants are doing, and God, I hope they have a plan. I hope that we're just guessing and they're sitting there laughing like, ha ha ha, you think we're doing this? Well, we're getting this guy, or we believe in that guy.
Sit there and laugh at what they've been doing, though.
We secretly re-signed extensions and we're on board for, a 5-year plan here.
There's no way that has happened.
Oh my, that would be wild. Could you imagine?
Yeah. No, they almost got fired last year. They didn't sign extensions.
I've reported some
Stop
crazy things in my life. All right, I'll stop that.
Stop it.
I could see it right now.
You're going to get aggregated.
Bleacher Report, Russini says
you're going to get aggregated. Stop that. The aggregators are out in full force. Stop that.
I hope they do, because that means they're winning next year, so I want them to get that, but I don't believe so, at this moment at least. So what does that mean for them? Look, I think the timing of all this is important, okay? So Cam Ward's got his workout. He's lights out. Twitter's on fire. Everyone I'm talking to on the phone and texting with that's at the workout is like, this is so good. Oh my God, he's so great. The Titans, I've never seen Brian Callahan glow. He was glowing at the workout from the video.
Excited.
I saw, it was awesome to see Brian have that like energy, because he's like, all right, this is something I could work with. This is closer to the Joe Burrow type thing I was looking for, less Will Levis.
Yeah.
So then, a few hours later, we find out that the Giants sign Russell Wilson when, they probably had to up the offer a little bit more, knowing that the Browns were in on Russ, sweeten the deal to make sure he came there. So, look, if I were to guess, I think the Giants saw the writing on the wall. The Titans are probably not going to move out unless it's a haul, like an unbelievable haul that's game-changing for this organization.
Yeah.
And that they're going to probably go with Cam Ward, and that keeps them out. And maybe that tells us that they're not as high on Shedeur Sanders as maybe we thought they were, or maybe as other teams have Sanders up on their board.
I think that's a great point by you. And elaborating more, I think it's a little bit of insurance for Shedeur Sanders. What if they don't think Shedeur Sanders is ready, like you said, or what if for some reason the Browns fall in love with Shedeur and say, we need a quarterback, and take Shedeur, and then now all of a sudden they're at the number 3 pick. You're like, what do we do? So they actually, I get that. However, I still come back to Dianna. Like, what happens if they win 9 games in a very difficult division with
like
Russell Wilson, but don't make the playoffs?
The gray stinks, right? In anything.
Yeah.
You never want to be in the gray. It's either black or white. And that scenario to me is the nightmare scenario, because that's when people start thinking with their hearts, and they're starting to think about the situation illogically, instead of just saying, we probably should have made a move last year. We didn't. We had no plan since the Daniel Jones situation. No one has the answers, and they're going to probably wind up making a move that we've all predicted. But I still think it's so much easier for ownership if they just go out there and stink, or if they go out there and they light it up. The in-between
the in-between's great. It's awful. Sorry for interrupting. Do you think that there's any way maybe this move signals like the Russell signing? Because there's so many different ways you could play it. I mean, honestly, we have no idea. Like, this is pure speculation from me. But do you think, and I've said this before on this podcast, do you think it's any way of John Mara saying, no, you guys aren't drafting a quarterback because we know you're going to be gone next year. We don't want to mortgage the franchise. We don't want to take the wrong guy. We want to wait next year for Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller. Like, do you think there's something to that?
Yeah, I think there's probably somebody there that's looking out for the franchise and the future, and going, probably collecting the information from Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. And look, as desperate as they probably are to find the answer, I don't think they're going to be dumb and push and encourage this organization to draft a guy that's not going to be good. I mean, maybe they do it, but if there's probably a world where Joe Schoen and the rest of that front office are watching film of these guys and going, it's either Cam Ward or no one. Like, that's probably a possibility. And maybe that earns them some points with ownership.
But how? Look, if I'm Dabes, like Brian Daboll, I like the fact that, look, Russ at times last year played good ball. Now you're going to a worse team, so you're going to have to play even better ball. But I'm looking at the number 3 pick, and I'm looking like, man, if I'm Russell, okay, I got a good running back in Tracy last year. They hit on that. I believe that. You have Malik Neighbors, and you're sitting there at number 3 with Travis Hunter. You pair Malik Neighbors and Travis Hunter together, and you're Russell Wilson who throws the moon ball. Like, you got some weapons. Figure out the offensive line a little bit. It's not horrible, but I just come back to, like, man, you have got to find the franchise quarterback. Plus your division that you're playing in. That's difficult. It's not like the Cowboys are just going to be pushovers. You know what I mean? They're probably the 4th best team in that division. I think it's like they're like the 4th worst odds to make the Super Bowl. I mean, we know what, I think the Broncos were the least favorite team last year, and they made the playoffs. So that can happen. It's just offensively, I can at least wrap my head around what this offense could look like and what the ceiling with this offense could look like if you get Travis Hunter and play him at receiver.
Yep. All right. So obviously with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston now on the roster, that means Aaron Rodgers is over for New York in terms of their quest to land him. And we always knew that was going to be a long shot. I know there was some reporting out there that the Giants felt really good about it. I never got the sense that the Giants felt good about it. They always knew that this was going to be a long shot from what I can gather. But credit to them for trying Stafford, trying Rodgers. But, in the end, they settle on Russell and Jameis. So Aaron Rodgers is still not signed with the team. We know that he took that visit to the Pittsburgh Steelers, spent hours with Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin. And we're all just waiting. And, we spent the last few weeks talking about what Rodgers perhaps wants. And it was pretty clear from the people I was talking to that it was the Minnesota Vikings. And with the Minnesota Vikings basically putting this whole thing on pause for now because they want to see what J.J. McCarthy could have or has in these OTAs to see where his recovery's at. Then recently, we saw Minnesota Vikings GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah speak to the media about free agency and also address questions from reporters about what exactly has been going on between the Minnesota Vikings and Aaron Rodgers. Here's what he had to say, Chase.
Did you or Kevin speak with Aaron directly?
Yeah, so you're talking about a player that Kevin's known for a long time, and so when you have a relationship like that, I'm typically the type that's like, hey, whoever's got the best relationship, talk to him. And so Kev, he's a bit of a if I'm like the maybe like the dork Elvis, maybe Kev's like the QB Elvis type of guy. He's got a lot of respect in that community, and he deserves it for a lot of great reasons, not just for the what he brings from a schematic standpoint, but just how he cares about players, how he cares about people. He cares about, a lot of times the environments around quarterbacks aren't really supportive to quarterbacks. And so for that reason, he's got a great relationship with a lot of these guys, and he's got a great relationship with Aaron. They've had a lot of conversations. Obviously, he looped us in, and we kind of met and go from there. It's a unique thing to talk about a player of that caliber, and I'm always somebody who wants to learn and grow myself. And so, just being involved in those dialogue was really special.
So pretty transparent from Kwesi.
Very transparent. Very seems to the door is not closed at all. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, this is a future Hall of Fame quarterback. This is a 4-time MVP. This is not something you just breeze by. You don't just have a quick convo over coffee. You sit there and you have full conversations with your staff, with your coaches, with your front office, with your ownership, and you say, we are built to win, and Aaron Rodgers is available. How is this going to affect J.J. McCarthy? How will this affect the team dynamic? What does Aaron Rodgers bring? This is what I'm translating from what he just said in terms of how they dealt with this. This was not some blow-by conversation. This was days of intel, days of conversations and debate. Should we or should we not do this?
Well, you sound like you're like a GM, because that's exactly what I was going to say. You got to weigh everything. Like you like when you're dealing with a player,
Chase.
Like the phone line's always open.
I would argue that Kwesi was a horrible general manager if he didn't bring that to the table, if he didn't discuss it, right? Like if you have a quarterback that's young, that's never taken a snap, who's coming off a big injury, and you have a future Hall of Fame quarterback available that you would have never thought would be available. It is your job to say what is going to win us a trophy.
That's exactly where I've landed on this entire conversation. People that watch this show, we have a lot of Minnesota Vikings people. They are very, very strong J.J. McCarthy fans and advocates. Okay,
I like that. They should be.
I love it, and they should be, because I think he will be a good quarterback in this league with Kevin O'Connell, because Kevin O'Connell is the quarterback whisperer. However, I also am allowed to have the opinion that Aaron Rodgers gives them the best chance to win a Super Bowl this year. Okay? It's not saying that, J.J. McCarthy can't go on and be this all-pro type. I don't know. The Vikings don't know, and quite honestly, they're telling you they don't know by not closing the door completely on Aaron Rodgers. That's all this is. I think they give him the spring. I think they figure out where he's at physically. I think they figure out where he's at mentally. And if Aaron Rodgers is still around, which that's a whole nother thing. It's like, it seems to me right now, I don't even know if Aaron wants to play for anyone other than Minnesota, because Aaron has not come out and said, I'm for sure playing. We don't know if he's playing. Like, I was talking to James Jones, who is his boy, 8 seasons with him on the facility, our Fox show. And James is like, honestly, 12 could hang it up. Like, he'd be totally fine hanging it up, I feel like. Like, he went out the wrong way, but there's so much stuff mentally and physically that go in to get ready for a season of football. You got to move. You got to learn a new offense. You got to learn a new system. You got to learn new teammates. You got to have the media scrutiny. You got to all this stuff. Does Aaron want to go through that again? I don't know if he wants to go through it with Pittsburgh, because I don't think Pittsburgh has a roster that is championship ready. I know that Minnesota has a championship ready roster right now. For God's sake, they won 14 games with Sam Darnold playing quarterback. You don't think Kevin O'Connell can have that Aaron Rodgers flair with Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkins, and Aaron Jones? I mean, they're surrounding everything they did in free agency. I think it's a smart move just to keep the door open.
I think Kevin O'Connell's strength has always been getting the most out of his quarterbacks. He figures out what they do well, and he taps into it and highlights the heck out of it. There are those that think, well, how would Aaron Rodgers fit in this offense? How? He likes to do things his way. How's that going to work with Kevin O'Connell, who likes to do things his way? I think that is such a lazy argument to make. You're talking about two greats at what they do. They will figure out how to make that marriage work if that were to arrive at that point. For now, that's not it. J.J. McCarthy has not been told he is the starter. He's not been told he's the number one guy. Even before Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold walked away, or at least went to other teams, it was always discussed that it would be a competition this summer, right? So they're not telling him anything. That is also telling to me, right? Because going back to what you said, they don't know. How could they know? He's coming off injury. They need to see it. And I do think there's a world, and I know Vikings fans don't want to see it, whether it's their hate for Aaron Rodgers, whether it's they feel that JJ's not getting a fair shake, whatever the reason is for why some Vikings fans don't want to see Aaron Rodgers, they have to come to grips. There is a world that exists this year where Aaron Rodgers hangs out and the Minnesota Vikings pick up the phone and they make the call. It could happen.
Yeah, let me ask you this from a person. Well, I can give my answer from a quarterback standpoint, but how long is too long?
How long do you wait?
You know what I mean? Do you get into training camp when it opens? You're like, okay, we're good, and then maybe I think he needs at least 2 to 3 weeks to get up to speed, halfway through training camp. I mean, what do you think?
You
from
tell
that
me
aspect?
how long you think a guy like Aaron Rodgers would need.
From a guy
I'm thinking a day.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not as easy as that, to be honest with you.
I know.
Because that's when you get into the nuances of the offense that Kevin O'Connell's runs is very, very pre-snap motion formation shift heavy. Rodgers hates that. So there is going to have to be a way they work together, like you awesomely said, for lack of better words, that they come together and they find a mesh, because I don't think Kevin O'Connell's just going to let Aaron Rodgers sit in the shotgun and just do quick game all day. I do think there's something to that. So I think that's sort of probably what they're working on. But for me, it's if you get into training camp and you get 2 weeks in and you're like, all right, let's bring Aaron in, I think he needs that 3 weeks minimum to not only physically get up to speed, but mentally as well.
Yeah. So bottom line, the Vikings haven't closed the door on Aaron Rodgers. It's very much a real thing if it gets to that point. There's also a world where J.J. McCarthy shows up to OTAs and looks as sharp and confident and ready to go as we saw him in training camp last year. And I'm sure that is what the organization is hoping for. And
we'll just see
10th. We'll see what they
of course
do.
They hope.
Over the next few weeks. But, just talking to people around the league about what is happening in Minnesota, most people have the same opinion that you and I have had, which is they obviously have some trepidation. They have some concerns here. It's quite apparent. It's just, what are you going to do next? I spoke to one GM who said, you don't worry about whatever's going to happen in 26, 27. You try to go win the Super Bowl this year. But I've seen the other side of it too. I've been in a situation where you're in on this guy and let's be loyal to him and see this out and try to put him in the best scenario for the next few seasons and take a couple shots at it. So we'll see what the Minnesota Vikings decide to do. And heck, we will see what the Steelers will do. We will see what Aaron Rodgers will do. Because here we are now in the end of March and we are still talking about where is Aaron Rodgers going to land? Stefon Diggs made his decision pretty easy. He took one visit and he signed with the New England Patriots. Boom, boom, boom. 3-year deal worth $69 million with $26 million guaranteed. Sounds like big numbers. It's all fake. Okay, it's essentially a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
But good for Steph. Good for him getting all that money coming off his injury. But my question for you is just knowing a Josh McDaniels offense. Is this a good fit?
I sort of questioned, where is he at health-wise? 5 months since the surgery. How's he going to react? And then I saw $26 million for a year. I was like, oh, man, that's a very big number. Quite honestly, I think that he had a lot of leverage because the New England Patriots, they had to have somebody. Now, I think that, he'll go in as their number one. And honestly, he played really well last year before he got hurt. He was on track for 100 catches and 1,000 yards, 7-8 touchdowns. So if you go out through the season, that's great. But he was really good short intermediate, right? The short catches, the short passes, the runs. I don't know if he has a blazing speed like he once was. I don't think he's ever had that. He's a route technician, though, so I think his releases really help with that as well. I still think the Patriots need another threat somehow in the draft, like a deep threat, like a proverbial number one. This draft is sort of deep at receiver, but I like it for him. I mean, count me as a group was like, man, $26 million. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. But in terms of his injury, because you're right, that is probably the most important part of this signing. They're obviously willing to take a gamble that he's going to be okay because obviously they had their doctors look at him and they assessed him. And from what I can gather, he's ahead of schedule. He's working really hard. We've seen his video clips on his Instagram.
The old video clips on Instagram.
I know the Pats feel really good about his availability very early in the season, if not for the start of it. So that's really good news for New England for where he's at coming off this injury. Did you see his Instagram post? He posted something on Thursday. It was just a picture of when Mike Vrabel was a player, and Vrabes had that like long hair, like down to his shoulder, and he's just like, it was just like a tough photo. And to me, at first, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, he obviously connected with Mike Vrabel when they met in New England for the visit. But then I realized that is why Steph is there. Like, Steph had choices. Houston wanted him back.
Yeah.
Vrabel closed the deal. And that's saying something to me because I know in free agency there were a lot of free agents who did not want to go there. Like, as good as a coach as he is, it's the whole New England way of doing things now, the way last year went. I think it just... Around the league, I think New England just had like a yucky feeling in a lot of people's mouths based on what we've seen the last few years. We forget quickly, right? It's like the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick years are so far behind now. So I think this was just a really big win for Diggs, a really big win for this new New England Patriots regime in bringing in a superstar.
The biggest question I have is Cardi B going to be at games, you think?
That's the first thing I asked. You see that Robert Kraft video? Of him dancing with her? Look, everyone was making fun of Kraft. I was not. I thought he was moving really well. You have to see my parents dance, and they're way younger than him.
That's what you took away from the video, an old man dancing well.
It's impressive. My mom does the twist still.
Oh, nice.
You have to get down low. You have to have like really good hips. She gets all the way down. It's very impressive, but either way. The one thing I love too, Diggs has had some of his best totals in his career against the Patriots.
Oh, he's played amazing versus
He's
Patriots.
been a Patriots killer, right?
Yeah.
61 receptions, 779 yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. It leads in like every category against a team.
Wow.
Now he's part
awesome.
of it. Yeah, practice should be fun.
Blasting Cardi B the first practice to embarrass him. Let's go.
Cardi B and Stefon Diggs, the new Taylor and Travis.
Seriously.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to dive into the latest news involving the NFL draft. Stay with us. All right, we're just about a month away from the NFL draft. We got about 97 mock drafts going down. I can't even keep up.
We're doing one on this show. You don't know it. Not today, obviously. But we are going to do a top 15 mock draft.
Okay, but I would like to put some money on it because I'd like to be right. And I know how much you like to gamble. So
no, because like I'm going to look into it. I'm going to do my research, but you're going to spend days and days and days and days and talk to people and know stuff that I don't know.
Oh, that's
so
a
you're
good
going to win
point.
the money.
That's like insider
That's not
trading.
fair. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I would lose
fair.
all my money.
Good point. All right, we'll do a fun mock draft. But it's funny. Every time I read a mock draft, the new one comes out. I'm like, wait, I just finished it. You know?
So true.
Like, there's so many of them, which, fans love it. It is really fun. I do love this time of year only because it's basically just smokescreen, rumor season, which it is really hard when you're talking to teams right now to get the truth. It is. I will admit that. And, I mean, I'm talking to people that I've known for 15 years, and I sometimes can't get them to just tell me what position they're even doing, nevertheless, who they're taking.
People are crazy around draft time.
They are,
Like,
and it's
these
just going to get
teams
wilder.
lie. And
Oh, yes.
these insiders lie for the teams.
Don't you dare to put
And
that attitude at me. I don't do it.
I didn't say, did I say you? Don't get all sensitive.
I did have someone I trust with my life lie to me last draft.
Exactly. I mean, it's
Like,
known.
and he called me the next morning on his way
see?
into the facility and was like, Di, I am so sorry. I'm like, I didn't report it. Thank God. But you're a liar. It worked out for him. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
You know exactly who I'm talking about. All right.
yeah.
Cam Ward is the go number one. What do you think? Just
Yes.
based that. I want to just get your thought.
Yeah,
you
100%.
think so?
I like it. And the pro day was great, icing on the top. But I think this has been leaning toward Cam Ward for a long time. And if you just purely watch his film, is he the best overall player? No. Okay, I think that's Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. However, he is a really, really good quarterback, and that is what the Titans need right now. I think it would be not smart to pass up on him. And the thing that makes him special, because you're like the way I see the quarterback draft, we haven't really got into this, but we'll just a little bit. Like I see it's Cam Ward above everyone. And I feel like then it's Shedeur, Jackson, drop down, and then it's like everyone else. Jackson Dart, sorry. And so when I do that, and I'm like, okay, so Cam's like clearly, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, the number one. He can just do a lot of things that a lot of these other quarterbacks in this class can't. And when you look at the most pro-ready and can get in and out of binds, I believe it's Cam Ward. Like the way he drops his arm angles on some of these RPOs, which are run-pass options, it just gives you like an idea of like what the Tennessee Titans are probably going to do offensively, because I don't think Cam Ward's ever going to be a guy that you put under center and go, hey, play action, heavy, like half-field reads. He's more of a fill-it-out guy. Now, I will say, like for all the good stuff, he's over-aggressive, and I think that over-aggressiveness sometimes can come back and bite you in the butt a little bit, because he does throw some interceptions. You're like, but everyone sees those plays that Patrick Mahomes made popular, right? You're running left, you're running right, you spin out, you throw a dime, and you're like, where in the world did that just come from? So I think his ceiling, the reason why I have him as number one and above, his ceiling is a lot higher than the rest of these quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah, and I do think your opinion is shared around the league. I think that's very similar to what I'm hearing. I don't have anyone telling me right now that there's another quarterback better than Cam Ward at this point. That could change, of course. But, we go back to last year where I heard Caleb Williams was one. I heard Jaden Daniels was one, right? Like
that was close for me too, because a lot of people were like, oh, Caleb, generational talent. But Jaden was right up there in conversations with teams too.
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't out as much as I remember.
No, for sure.
I remember knowing it because I was talking to people and thinking, this, I don't think people know this. Like that.
Well,
so
I think
many
the hype
teams
surrounding Caleb was so much that there was some stuff out there, but it just never got reported because Caleb Williams, generational, first thing since Trevor Lawrence, last thing since Andrew Luck. And I was just like, okay. Like, I can see where teams have Jaden, though.
Well, the Browns and the Titans, they held private workouts with Cam Ward. Real quick, before we move on to Abdul Carter, in those private workouts, what are you getting or seeing individually compared to what we're seeing at their pro days? Yeah,
it's so much different than the pro days. The pro days, the quarterback and the quarterback's private quarterback coach, they script the play. So the 60 throws that Cam Ward had or 50 throws that Cam Ward had, it's all scripted. They practice it all summer or all spring. So they're used to it. They know exactly what they're doing. Play 5. This is the play. Your receivers are on this. In the private workouts, and I think this is probably the best, most realistic option for teams, the teams will put you through a workout so you can get your hands on the quarterback. Here's Brian Callahan saying, we run this play. Call it, do it, let's see your footwork. We teach it this way versus that. So the teams are actually running those. And you heard here on Scoop City, right? We interviewed Sean Payton. And Sean Payton, remember famously telling us, we knew in the private workout throw 16 that Bo Nix was our guy no matter what. I imagine this is exactly what Brian Callahan was so giddy about, like, hey, we might have known in throw 5 that Cam Ward is our guy. So I do think it gives a little bit more intimate setting. There's none of these cameras. And it's just, let's go to work, me, you, quarterback coach, OC, receive, like all this stuff. And I think it's really, really good. I think it's a lot better and more realistic option on like what a quarterback will look like in your system.
Yeah, that sounds like more of a true audition.
100%.
You are being put
100%.
to the test.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of it mental, some of it physical, probably more mental than anything, right?
It's a lot of mental. And that's the thing too. That's a great point by you. They give you like a script.
Oh yeah, remember Sean told us the night before. He emailed it.
We're going to give you everything. We're going to give you 55 plays. You better study it. We're only going to run 2 of them, but you better be able to get up on that board. You better be able to get on that field and show me you know and you studied.
God, I'm sweating thinking
about it.
It's
the best open book test ever. People who fail it are idiots.
Wait. Oh, I guess it's open book because
you can study it. You know it. Just study it.
Okay, but you can't.
There's so many people that.
Right.
Diana, do you know how many people just are like, I don't care. I'm just gonna wing it. Like, study the plays. Go out. Oh, you'd be surprised on some of the stories I've heard from some of these quarterback coaches. Just not caring.
How could you show up and not know the plays of the team that just gave you the book?
I could never.
I would vomit. The nerves would just. Yeah,
it's very nerve-wracking.
Preparation is the best way to have the confidence. And
preparation breeds confidence. That's the thing I live by.
It's a poster I have in my room. Abdul Carter tweeted, "Don't let all this quarterback need talk fool y'all. It's already known who's the best, and no quarterback is in that discussion. Like I said, the best player goes number 1. Do you think he should go number 1?
I mean, look, he absolutely, like I said, he's the best player in this draft. He is one of the few, truly, like, it's not just because they wore number 11, not just because they went to Penn State. I truly think, like, his ceiling could be around Micah Parsons. Like, he's that type of edge rusher. I don't know if he can play as many positions as Micah can, like he did coming out, but supposedly he's going to run a 4.3, right? But he's not running at his pro day. Like, he is one of those pure, true pass rushers who can cause and wreak havoc on the edge and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. True game-changing plays. If it wasn't the Titans and the Titans didn't need a quarterback, he would absolutely go number 1.
Oh, for sure. And that's how this affects where these players go. It's just the need and truthfully desperation for some of these teams. So, during the combine, we talked all about his ankle injuries. And I think there were a lot of questions when that first came out. I'm not getting any sense around the league that is an issue in terms of his evaluation. And you and I even discussed it when it happened, and you blew it off quicker than I did. And, talking to teams, it just didn't seem like it was going to be something that people were going to hold against him. So he's not going to work out, but he's going to let them measure him. When a player chooses not to work out, how does that benefit them? Is it because his stock is as high as it's going to be?
He knows he's going number 1 and number 2. Okay. What's he working out for?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
All right. How about Travis Hunter? Okay. We know the two-way player. We joked a little bit. Well, we didn't really joke about it, but we just pointed out how the Titans and the Browns saw him so differently. When they spoke at the combine, one as a receiver, one, as a back, as a corner. So in terms of the interest in Travis Hunter, I had one team say to me they'd be shocked if he was still available after 4. He's got potential to go. But again, it's this time of year where I also have heard, they could see him falling a little bit. We don't know. We do not know how this is going to play. But my question is going to be, what would the Giants do if they make a decision at 3? Oh, man. If they're like, okay, we're good at quarterback with these veterans. We're going to wait till next year. And they're up at 3. Let's say Tennessee takes Cam.
Cleveland takes Abdul.
Takes Abdul. Which, let's be clear, the Titans are getting phone calls from a lot of teams to move up. Like, there's no, I expect them to call. They have called already. People are calling. That's all happening. It happened during the combine. It's still happening. Where it's a little bit of a back and forth of what would it take? Would it look like this? No. How about this? No. Right? But they're answering. So that tells me that they're not completely locked in.
What would it take?
I think it has to be something where they feel they're set up for a very long time in terms of picks. I don't know what would make them go, this is an absolute win-win.
A player in 3 first rounds, a player in 2 first rounders.
Yeah, that player better be a quarterback.
Oh, well, I don't know. Kirk Cousins still out there.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because that is kind of floating around still because it's going to until probably after the draft once it all settles and then we see which teams are still desperate because that's what's going to wind up happening. Someone's going to be left out of this dance. Someone's still going to be searching for an answer at quarterback or at least a better answer, right? They'll fill it. So I do think Kirk Cousins will wind up landing somewhere. It's just we don't know yet. We got to wait for a couple.
Well, I think the best fit would be the Browns if they don't draft a quarterback, right? But let's get back to Travis Hunter. You're saying Ward goes 1, Cam Ward goes 1 to the Tennessee. Let's just say for fun that Shedeur goes 2 to Browns.
Yep.
I think the Giants, do they take and add to their defensive line or do they take Travis Hunter? I think it depends on where they see Travis at. Do you see Travis Hunter at a receiver, which they already have? Or do you see he can play both ways? If you see he can play both ways, I think it's easily Travis Hunter. But then in what world does Abdul Carter drop to 4? There's no way.
No way. You know, Chase, it's that time of year, too, where you're starting to hear about different teams that are hot on certain guys, where they are calling to see if they can move up. I've heard Jerry really likes Travis Hunter. So
no way.
That's a very Dallas Cowboy move, right? Don't you think?
They're going to have to give up the farm for a cornerback? They're drafting 12.
Just because they like them doesn't mean they're going to do it. But
draft his next prime, huh?
You never know.
Wow.
I'm interested to see if Cleveland's going to be willing to trade out, if they'd be willing to collect some picks here. Do you think that they need to make a move there too? Do you think they're at that point where they have to do this right now? Again,
I don't think so. I thought about, because I saw a couple reports here and there, like, Cleveland's looking to trade back. It's like, how far back? And then if somebody's coming up to 2, it better damn near be for a quarterback. You're
Correct.
not moving all this way up for Abdul Carter, right? Then
or Travis Hunter.
You need to think, like, who wants a quarterback that's not going to be there? You're probably not moving up for Jackson Dart, but there's no, I don't know. Like, to me, the teams that need quarterbacks, Jets, could use a quarterback and they could sit. Saints need a quarterback, could sit. Raiders need a quarterback, could sit. I don't see any of those teams moving up. The Browns are in a little bit of a lose-lose situation. I say a lose-lose. You pair you pair freaking Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett. You got a really good defensive line.
Yes.
It's an interesting situation for the Browns.
All right, let's wrap this up real quick. We're going to take a break. Chase, what would you do if an old lady yelled at your 3-year-old when you guys were eating dinner?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I bet you it was similar to what I did. So I have some questions for you. I need some advice on some situations I've been faced with, and I know you've got some for me too. So we'll be right back. All right, back here on Scoop City in our segment called What Would You Do? All right, so essentially we're going to lay out a situation and the other is going to give some counsel, some advice on how it should be handled, not necessarily how they would handle it, right? Do as I say, not as I do. I know we've been getting a lot of feedback on some of our parenting, so please continue to share your thoughts on our situations. Let us know what you would do in this scenario. So last Friday, we take the boys out for pizza. We get there at 4:45. It's early. We sit there, and it's one of those like really family-friendly restaurants. It's loud. They have carpet. It's just one of those. There's kids at the table next to us, to the left of us. Like they're all over. Everyone's sitting at their seats with their family, but we got the dinosaurs on the table. We're doing the whole thing of let's just get through an hour dinner, and the boys can eat their pizza. We go home.
Yeah, quick dinner.
And my 2-year-old is discovering his voice, and so he yells, not in like a whiny way, just like a for no reason, just randomly yells.
It happens. It's normal,
right? It's just, and you say, Joey, we're in a restaurant. It's quiet. He has no idea what I'm saying, though.
Is that how kind you are? You say, Joey, stop.
No, my husband says it like that. I'm like, Joey, sit down. Shh, quiet game. And then he just does it again. So these 3 old ladies are walking by the table, and the first 2 smile at the boys like normal older ladies that see 2 cute little boys dressed eating their pizza. I don't know why they're dressed. Of course they're dressed. I'm a good mom. My kids were dressed.
Yeah.
And the last lady just stops and stares at me and then stares at Joey and goes, he's very loud. And I do that awkward, like, I know. I'm like, I know he's very loud. He's just like his mom. Like I said something like,
just like his
to break
mom.
that weird, obnoxious comment, And she said, I had 4 babies. They were never this loud.
Okay.
And so
she's forgetting.
I'm like, of course she's forgetting. And by the way, she is staring into my soul, like Bill Belichick style.
I can't believe she stopped.
Stopped. And Joey's still like, like yelling, which is like making me laugh because at this point I don't care. So I responded and I said, well, I'm sure those 4 babies are now grown and you must be a wonderful grandmother. Just like snarl on her, and Kevin's looking at me like, no, like you're not going to fight some 80-year-old lady right now. I just was I was in shock, actually. Someone walking up to the table to tell me that my son is loud. Look, I get it. If you're bringing your child to a restaurant that's nice, you're at a steakhouse, it's romantic Friday night, all fair. This was...
You're at a pizza joint.
Early bird special, I wish I yelled it or turn your hearing aids down. It was my first real like mama bear experience because I haven't had any. I'm sure. So I don't know. What do you think? I
don't get why. Well, that's a great question. I don't understand quite. So she was leaving.
She was leaving, exactly. She was getting up to leave.
I don't understand the two other, the ladies, and then her.
They were being sweet, and she just stopped.
Then she stops. Why do you feel the need to stop? Say what if you say that, just keep walking, because Diana's going to beat your freaking butt.
Yeah, she had no idea who she was talking to. But no, for sure. It was.
So,
and
I think
it was
you
the look at Joey. That's what, you're going to stare down a 2-year-old. He doesn't even have a tooth.
I think that you handled it properly because it wasn't like an over-the-top comment, but it's also like you're protecting your young. You know what I mean?
I called her a bad grandma. That's kind of...
Well, but like, honestly, I'm surprised you didn't throw hands. Like, you know what I mean? Say in your soccer film that you've thrown hands on, like, that's like, and that was a game. This is your family. Yeah, I don't know. I mean... It's very difficult for me because I have a very similar situation. So I don't know. I think you handled it fine. I don't have any issue with it.
Thank you. I love that.
I'm sure people will. I'm sure people will. But like, you know what?
Let us know if you think there's a different way I should have.
I'm sure there is. People are like, just kill them with kindness. Yay.
Say nothing. I don't know. I just don't think that. I thought it was rude to come up to our table.
It's 100% rude. And we'll have a lot of people in comments saying, just kill them with kindness. And I agree with that. But like, whatever. The fact that she stopped made it worse. So I don't have like a crazy story like that, but it's something similar. So we live in San Diego, and there's a train that goes up the 101 all the way to like St. Louis Obispo. And there is a petting zoo. We've done this trip once, maybe twice. I think maybe just once. But it's really cool because the train, first of all, our kids don't go on a train a lot. You could easily drive it. It'll be short, probably just the same amount of money, not money, but the same amount of time traveled. But the coaster goes up the ocean. So you get to see like the ocean. There's like, you're like almost riding on the ocean. It's like coaster, then cliff, then ocean for a lot of the drive. So it's a really beautiful drive. So of course we try to sit on, the west side of the train as it's going north up the ocean. And we growing up there because we wanted to go see a petting zoo. And so we're up there, very, very similar situation, although we can't leave. No one can leave. We're in a car, which is a normal train car. And I'm not sure my wife's going to get on to me because she listens to this, especially this segment. And she's going to, you told the story wrong. Well, I'm trying my best, babe. Okay. But I believe Parker, our middle daughter, was 3-ish, maybe 2. Preston was 4. I don't know if Ashton was born or not. Maybe Ashton was a baby. It doesn't really matter. So Parker is finding her voice exactly to a T what happened. It's like not like being crazy, not like doing any of that. And this like not even old lady who had a kid with her gets up out of her seat, comes over to us. You need to shut that baby up. And I said, like, I don't know if it's that aggressive, but it got to that. Like, you need to like pretty much quiet your baby. I'm like, what? And I didn't realize it at first. My wife was there.
But that's what's always so interesting about that moment, right? You're not expecting it because you're dealing with the parenting thing too. So you're like, did you just say that?
Yeah. And so my wife is actually very like calm, but we'll get like Mama Bear, you know what I mean? She's like very calm. And I started to be like, can you just go? Can you leave? Can you just, no, you leave. We have 3 kids or 2 kids, whatever it is. You need to get out of here. This is not, we even like had the people saw her coming out and she came back again. It wasn't just one time. We had people that were sitting in the car that had like gotten like the guy or whatever. And the guy was like, you need to relax. I don't know. She might have been having a bad day. So I give her some grace on that, but it was the same situation. So what should we have done? Cause I got a little upset. Not gonna lie.
So it's so funny that you brought up that idea of maybe that person's having a bad day, because I've been trying to do a better job of that in general with like my everyday interactions, when I just think people are so rude. For some reason, I've experienced so much rudeness in the last few weeks, whether it's shopping or being out, even driving. I'm like, what is everyone just going through something? So I do defer to maybe they're just going through something or having a tough time. But when they continue to push, that's where it's hard.
Yeah. Like one comment's enough, too. Like, all right.
Yeah. Like even I was at a store the other day and this woman was trying to look at a dress that I was looking at and my bag was blocking her a little. And she's like, can you move your bag? I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
That's just
right?
Jersey in general.
But I was
up there.
But I was in the wrong, right? Like I actually knew what she meant because my bag was out. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I brought it in. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, serious about what? I like the dress too. Like it was so bizarre. And I walked away like, all right, there's some black cloud of crazy around me lately where people just want to fight me. Which, look, insiders are fighting these days. Maybe that's the thing.
Starbucks.
All right, my last, what would you do? And man, oh man, I hope people listening will help us out if Chase does not have an answer. I still can't get the 3-year-old to stay in his room. I can't. I tried the lava thing. I tried you're going to get electrocuted. I told him the other day that the police were going to come and put him in jail. I have tried all of it. Nothing will make Michael stay in his baby bed or toddler bed. So what is the next step?
Yeah. So
we're on 3 hours of sleep, man.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's awful. Like, I feel for you. We never did that. We never had that phase for Preston, who's my oldest, or Parker, who's my middle, because I literally scared the crap out of them. When they did it the first time, I said, you don't get out of your bed. It's such an issue. Like, I was not nice at all.
We did that.
But like, I don't think you did it like me. And we did not have an issue with it.
Sure,
so
sounds
like
awesome. Uncle Chase needs to come over.
Yeah. Oh, Uncle Chase. Yeah, for sure. And then so with Ashton, our youngest, we had a point where it kept happening like 2 nights in a row. And we'd see in our camera, we have a camera in a room. We're like, she's getting out. She's just laying on the floor. She's turning on all our lights. It was crazy. We had no idea what to do. So we're like, oh, let's just go buy a net that goes over that you zip. And we're like, oh, okay. So it's literally like a net, like an animal net, like you get, and you have to zip in for the baby bed crib. And so that worked. And then 2 months later, she figured out, I know how to unzip this. Let me get in there. She'd unzip it and go out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So then I got a laser pointer. And then I started laser pointing the ground, like, see these lasers? These lasers are on. If you get out, you will burn yourself and you will go to the hospital. There you go. So that worked for a couple weeks. And then now it's one of those things where we had to almost lock her in her room. Because it's a very, very much, I'm a very high or a very heavy sleeper, same with my wife. It's a very big safety concern.
It's dangerous that they can get
out of their beds.
It's very dangerous that
they can get out.
They say the safest place is to put them in their room and lock it.
Yeah. So we don't lock them in. There is a like a thing that you get on Amazon we don't have the twist handles.
Correct.
We have
same here. It doesn't work on ours.
So we put like a little thing on the inside of her room so we can still get in, but she can't get out, and she's been staying in her room a little bit more. But she's very like clingy a little bit, so I have to like say, I'm sleeping outside of your bed on this little couch right here. It's gonna be fine, and then wait till she falls asleep, and it's just bad.
My son sleeps like a serial killer. Like when he's in bed with me, his feet are in my face. He pulls my eyelashes out like while I sleep. Like he just does all these weird things. And we're so done. Kevin's sleeping on the couch right now because he doesn't like sleeping with Mikey because Mikey's so horrendous and he talks in his sleep too.
It's awful.
So yeah, we're in this weird space. And look, I have heard lock them in by a lot of people. So if anyone else has another way, I'm going to try it. And
I think it's the only way. Have you done the red light, green light?
We have red light, green light. Doesn't work. I swear, I thought of you last night. I was like, Mikey, the carpet's lather. Your foot's gonna melt off. And he put his foot down. He's like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. I'm like, oh, don't play along with me. Get back in bed. Like he's too smart. It's so frustrating. So
I don't know how you do it with your schedule too.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right. Finally, you got any more? Any other? What would you do?
We went to the doctor a couple days ago because Ashton sliced her hand open with like a steak knife, and we allow our kids to be. She's fine. She got a little bit of glue. It didn't really even need it, but we just took her to the doctor. She is going through a phase. She's 3.5 right now, where she loves to be in charge, like every 3-year-old. So we try to like have our kids be very self-sufficient. We teach them, like we don't teach them with steak knives. So we teach them how to cut. We like Preston 7 cooking full breakfasts, like turning the oven on, like all this stuff. I think it's very crucial for their development, at least for our family, right? And so Ashton's going there. She gets a banana, okay, and. First of all, she gets bananas all the time. She likes bananas. She just rips it open. She eats it like a normal human being. She decided this time I'm going to take a steak knife and try to cut the stem off the banana.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
Okay, so I mean, not really smart. No, you have a steak knife, and we've never had to lock the steak knife drawer. We're still not going to lock the steak knife drawer. Like we teach if you're carrying a steak knife,
you hold the bottom handle,
blade down, like all this stuff, like how to hand it to them. Yeah, because if you have a steak knife up and you fall, you're through your chest. What are you talking about, Dianna?
I don't know. I need to come over and learn some things.
We try to teach them skills like that, and
teach me.
Yeah, and so when I'm coming home from work, and my wife's like, Ashton just cut herself. We need to go to the doctor. I think she needs stitches. We never had stitches in this house before. It's always been a glue. We've had a glue on the chin. Yeah. We've had a glue on the eye. We've had a glue on the eyebrow. And then Ashton had to get it glued together, so it wasn't even that deep. But the funny thing is, she stuck the steak knife right through the banana, the middle of the banana. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like it wasn't even trying to cut.
Yeah, what was
no idea. So, like, what do you think? Do you think we continue to, like, let her have these and learn by responsibility as long as she don't cut her finger off?
No, I like your perspective. I like this adulthood that you're teaching these children, like, responsibilities. Why not? I just think you have to reinforce probably what you just taught me for the first time, which is you hold your steak knife down. Yeah. Same thing with scissors. My boys aren't not as well trained as your children in terms of the safety stuff, obviously, because mom doesn't even know. But they know they're not allowed, or so they shouldn't be touching those things, because the look that kids give you when they know they shouldn't be doing something. He'll pick up the scissor and look and wait for my reaction. And so I've learned to not do reaction. That's actually the best thing
reaction.
You can do.
That's how Hillary is. Hillary's like, oh, you fall down? No reaction.
They never. That's the best move, especially when you have a little baby.
Yeah.
If you just don't cry, if you don't go, oh no, baby. No, I'm like, oh hey, oh you're okay.
Yeah. We talk to them like they're adults. We don't talk to them like they're babies.
I would call us in-betweeners. We probably need to do a better job of more adult talking in this house. But I will tell you, at 3 a.m, the F word is flying around when they're not going to bed from my husband. Well, he's yelling at me usually.
I will say my wife is way more calm. When we had a little spout like that with Parker, just wouldn't go to sleep, and I was not.
It tears you up. We had an awesome rule when we had newborns. Whatever is said to each other in the middle of the night is erased in the morning. None of it matters. That person is not me. That human being on no sleep yelling at you saying, I hate you, that's not true. I love you. Like that's how I have to do it. So, all right, make sure you weigh in. Let us know if you think we're good parents. Give us some tips, some advice. Anyone who can help solve my toddler's sleeplessness and getting out of bed issue. I will be so happy if you have a great idea and it works. I will shout you out. Heck, I will invite you over and make you dinner.
Easy.
Anything.
No strangers. Stranger danger.
Anything. All right, that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. Next episode, I will be live with you from the owners' meeting in Florida. Plenty to talk about. So you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.